Before we begin, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing. It really helps this channel grow. And trust me, you'll want to hear this one through to the very end. I turned 40 that day. Not that I cared about the number. I never made a fuss over birthdays. But Claire did. She said I deserved a big party. Something memorable. It turned out she was right. It was memorable. Just not in the way I expected. She booked the restaurant weeks in advance. Picked out the guest list. Designed custom napkins with my initials. Hell, even ordered a custom cake with a quote from one of my favorite books. She planned everything. Down to the moment she'd break me in front of everyone. Let me rewind a bit. Claire and I met 12 years ago. She was lightning, bold, impulsive, magnetic. I was earth, grounded, methodical, predictable. She said I calmed her down. I said she kept me from falling asleep. We weren't perfect. But we worked. At least, I thought we did. She laughed louder than anyone at my jokes. She'd squeeze my hand at parties. And when our friends talked about growing distant in marriage, Claire would nudge me and whisper, "Thank God we're not like that." But something changed last year. The touches became less frequent. The jokes more pointed. She'd criticize how I dressed, how I ate, how I never took risks. At first, I thought it was a phase. Everyone goes through lulls. But then the jokes got crueler and started landing in public. She'd call me Grandpa in front of her girlfriends. Once, she joked at a dinner party that I made love like a PowerPoint presentation. Structured, slow, and no surprises. Everyone laughed. I did too. On the outside. Inside, I was studying her. Now, the party. There were about 30 people there. Some of my coworkers. Some of hers. Her fitness coach. My brother. My assistant. Even her boss showed up. A guy named Damien who hugged her a little too long and called her spark plug. I noticed. I noticed everything. The evening started fine. Wine, small talk, photos. Claire was in her element, loud, laughing, moving through the crowd like a queen hosting court. She wore that red dress I always loved. She didn't wear it for me anymore. Then came the toasts. My brother stood up first. Said some sweet things. Toasted to steady hands and a steadier heart. I smiled. Thanked him. Then Claire stood up. She tapped her glass, holding her phone like she was reading from it, which was already strange. She started by teasing me about my morning routine. My obsession with podcasts. My addiction to black coffee. Everyone chuckled. Then it got colder. Honestly, I don't even know how I ended up married to Nathan, she said, grinning at the crowd. I mean, the guy doesn't even have social media. Who does that? A few polite laughs. People ask me what it's like being married to him. And I tell them, imagine dating a tax return. Organized. Dry. And it only comes once a year. Laughter. Louder this time. I felt the smile freeze on my face. And when it does come, she added, pausing for dramatic effect, you just pretend to enjoy it, right? Roaring laughter. Hands over mouths. Even Damien doubled over. I looked at Claire. She didn't look back. I wasn't a person in that moment. I was a joke. A punchline. In front of everyone I knew. My hands were still on the table. Steady. But my chest felt like it had cracked open. I stood up. Calmly. Claire raised an eyebrow. Where are you going, birthday boy? She smirked. I picked up my jacket from the chair. Home, I said. You can finish the cake. Someone tried to say something. I think it was my assistant, but I was already walking. I didn't slam the door. Didn't raise my voice. Didn't even look back. Because that's what they expected. They wanted a scene. I wasn't going to give them one. No. I was going to give them silence. And then, something much worse. I didn't answer her calls that night. Nor the next morning. nor the 32 messages she left over the next 5 days. At first, she was smug, then confused, then angry, then scared. I didn't reply to a single word, because I wasn't planning to talk. I was planning to vanish and rebuild from the shadows. 3 weeks earlier, I'd had a conversation with a friend of mine, Michael, a divorce attorney who specialized in high-asset cases. We were grabbing drinks. I told him things had been off. He nodded slowly, then said something I didn't forget. If you ever feel like the woman you love starts treating you like an embarrassment, don't argue. Don't beg. Just get quiet. Then call me. So I did. 2 days after the party, I was sitting in his office with a USB drive full of data, bank statements, phone logs, and one folder I hadn't opened, but Michael did. Photos. Claire and Damien. A hotel bar. A shared room. A 2-night stay while I was on a business trip in Chicago. I didn't react. Michael looked at me. You okay? I nodded. I wasn't surprised. I just felt done. It wasn't about the affair anymore. It was about the performance. The toasts. The crowd. The way she paraded my humiliation like a party trick. That night didn't break me. It freed me. We moved quickly. Michael filed for divorce under marital misconduct. We froze joint accounts. Transferred my business assets to a personal trust. Prepped documentation for exclusive ownership of the house, which, thankfully, had been in my name before the marriage. Claire had no idea what was coming, because I smiled when I saw her again. It was 2 weeks later. She showed up at the office unannounced. Hair done. Soft makeup. Tight blouse. Nathan, she said, voice rehearsed. I was wondering if we could talk. Of course, I said. She looked surprised. We sat in the meeting room. She launched into a monologue about what went wrong. How? It was just a joke. How? Everyone overreacted. I just listened. When she finished, I placed a thick envelope on the table. What's this? Divorce papers, I said. Filed, served, and scheduled for hearing. She blinked. The color left her face. You already? 10 days ago. Her voice dropped. You're overreacting. I smiled. You humiliated me in front of everyone I know, Claire. You didn't just cheat. You choreographed it. You monetized it for laughs. That's not a marriage. That's cruelty. She looked like she'd been slapped. I stood up. By the way, I said, reaching for the door, you'll want to talk to your lawyer. The prenup? It holds. And the house is mine. Check the title. It never changed. She didn't speak, just stared as I walked out again, this time not broken, not humiliated. Just done. Michael called me later that day. She's panicking. Her lawyer thought she had leverage. She never had leverage, I replied. She just had a stage. He laughed. I like this version of you. Me too. I didn't go public. Didn't call friends to explain. Didn't post anything online. I just moved in silence. But the silence made noise. People started piecing things together. And the story began to spread, not from me, but from whispers. They started calling it the birthday toast that backfired. Even Damien backed away. Deleted photos. Scrubbed comments. Coward. Claire? She tried to play victim. Said I was emotionally abusive. That I abandoned her. But the people who mattered, they'd seen the party. They remembered the look on my face, the stillness in my hands, the pain I refused to show, and the silence I weaponized. 3 months later, the divorce was finalized. Clean. Silent. Total. Claire walked away with what the prenup allowed. Which, in short, wasn't much. No house. No stake in my company. No claim to retirement assets. And thanks to her own spending during the affair, not a dime of alimony. She moved into a small condo near the city, sold her car, started showing up in group selfies on Instagram again, all smiles and filters. But behind every smile, I could see it, the unease, the panic, the image management. She had burned me for public attention. And now she was dying in silence for the same reason. No one was watching anymore. I didn't date. Not for a while. I didn't need to move on, like they show in the movies, some rebound girl, some instant revenge romance. No. I rebuilt. Quietly. Deliberately. I focused on my company. Streamlined operations. Cut dead weight. Brought in a new CTO, someone I trusted, someone who saw me as more than a joke in a dinner jacket. I picked up running. Lost weight. Started sleeping through the night without wondering if the person next to me was already gone. And I smiled more. Not for show, but for myself. Then came the email. From James, my old college friend, and a corporate board member I hadn't seen in years. Nathan, long time. We're doing a small panel at the fundraiser next month. Topic: Leadership Under Pressure. Thought of you immediately. I stared at the screen for a while. Leadership under pressure. Interesting. I said yes. The event was held at a private venue, upscale, minimalist, full of people who spoke in quiet power and wore tailored suits without name tags. I sat on a panel with two others, a finance exec and a military strategist. We each spoke about challenges, loss, choices. When it was my turn, I stood up and said, "There's a moment in every man's life when someone tries to turn his silence into weakness. When the people closest to him mock him, betray him, diminish him, and expect him to break. But the smart man doesn't scream. He listens, he learns, and then he quietly removes every piece of leverage they ever had." The room was silent, not out of confusion, but out of recognition. I wasn't naming names, but some people in the audience knew the story. And one of them was Claire. She sat in the back. I hadn't seen her enter. Her hair was shorter, her face thinner, her eyes still searching for control. But when our eyes met, I didn't flinch. I didn't smile. I didn't look away. I just acknowledged her, as if to say, "Yes, you were part of my story, but not the whole story. Not anymore." After the panel, people came to shake hands, ask questions, exchange cards. Claire didn't approach. She watched from a distance. And when I finally walked past her on the way out, she opened her mouth, like she wanted to say something. I paused, waited. She didn't speak, so I nodded once and kept walking. Later that night, I got a message. "You really changed." I didn't respond. She wasn't talking to me. She was talking to the man who once waited for her laughter, for her approval, for her apology. That man was gone. What remained was a man who didn't need to humiliate anyone to heal, just to leave them standing where they tried to bury him, alone, behind the cake.